everyone. Hopefully this is working. I'm trying it a little bit differently today. So looks like we're good. Hi, so my name is Lauren Bonus, and this is my weekly edition of Show Me How It's Done. I am a Canadian Stampin' Up! Independent demonstrator, and I would absolutely love it if you would just click the like and subscribe on this channel so that you can see all of my other fun tutorials. I post one every Tuesday for you guys. They're absolutely free. I just walk you through either a little product or a technique. And today I have a really exciting card that I think to show for this week's episode. So this one is featuring the Regal Reindeers bundle. And I just want to give you guys a heads up that on December 1st, there's going to be some exciting announcements. So either tune in to my my website, and the site's listed on the bottom, or contact your demo. But there's going to be an announcement of the products from our holiday catalog that are carrying on and those that are being discontinued, and some of them are on sale starting December 1st. So make sure to tune in for that. I'm really excited that this bundle is actually going to show up in next year's holiday catalog or annual. They haven't really said, but they said it's carrying over. So in some aspect, we will see these reindeer again. And I'm really excited for that because they're beautiful. It's a really full set that kind of speaks to Christmas and then has some really heartfelt sentiments in there as well. So I decided I wanted to play with this in combination with a really fun technique. And I'm sure it's kind of been out there before, but I learned about it from a fellow demonstrator named Allison Okamitsu, and she showed us how to make this vellum background using rubbing alcohol and blends. So she used a different bundle and colors and whatever, but I'm going to replicate that technique for you guys today on our project. And so we're actually going to do that part of the card first, and then I'll go back and I'll tell you all the other pieces that you need to have ready to go. So for this technique, you're going to need a piece of vellum that is 4 inches by 5 1/4. So your blends can be whatever colors you want, but make sure you've got something to work on. So I've just got a scrap here. I'm going to use my dark Night of Navy, light Night of Navy, dark Coastal Cabana, and dark Mint Macaron. That's going to give me my skyline that I wanted. I wanted it to look kind of like a snowy background. But of course, if you switch up the colors and use reds and oranges and yellows, you'll get a sunrise or sunset. And if you went with all random colors, kind of like a northern lights sky, you could actually recreate that look as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by grabbing the darkest color in our series. And for me, that's my dark Night of Navy. And I'm going to color all over the top section of my vellum. So this is why you need that scrap piece, because you're going to end up going off the page a little bit, and that's okay. So next up is my light Night of Navy. And once again, just making sure to get all parts of that strip. So I'm coloring about 1/4 inch to 1 inch. It totally depends on how much dark to light you want to show. Got my Coastal Cabana. Just keep in mind that the bottom part here is going to be covered with a snowbank. So you want to fit all 4 of your colors in before you hit this bottom part. Dark Coastal Cabana, and then light Mint Macaron. Pool Party would be a really nice combination in here too. And then you really don't even have to go all the way to the bottom. I'll go down just a tiny bit further, just in case my snowbank ends up being small, but you don't even need to do the very bottom of this page. What you do need next is some isopropyl alcohol. So this is like rubbing alcohol, but it's that 99% proof stuff. Like, it's super strong. So if you're wondering where to get this, I found mine at Costco, just in the first aid section. and I've seen it there often. I'm assuming you could probably ask at Shoppers or your local pharmacies too. Sometimes they carry them, sometimes they don't. You can try this with just regular rubbing alcohol as well, but I do know I kind of experimented with both. This 99% proof is way better for this technique. So I'm using one of my old watercolor painters. The ones that we have now, they are white in color, but simply because I want to know that I've put alcohol inside of this one, I've kept it as my blue one, but any of the watercolor painters will do. You're just going to fill the entire chamber with the rubbing alcohol, and then we're going to just make little drips. So you kind of squeeze liquid to your tip and just drip, drip, drip. Or what you can do is tap, tap, tap a little bit on there to get the softer look. So I wanted a few really big ones, and then I'm just going to tap, tap, tap. You might have to get a little bit more into your tip again at some points. But you can add as much or as little as you want. And sorry, trying not to spray my computer if you can't tell. So there we go. So keep going, adding just a little bit at a time. You'll be easier because you don't have electronics to worry about. Just tapping, tapping, tapping as much as you can. This look. So I kind of want a little bit more in the bottom part. Focusing down here. There we go. But I like to kind of just take it slow, and then you can always add more, but you can't take this away once you've laid it down. So you don't need a ton. You can see on this one I added way more than this one, so you can keep going. It'll just kind of build. You almost want to let it like dry and then wet it again so that it just builds on itself and kind of keeps bleeding a little bit. Yeah, just a tiny bit more up in the top part here. I think I'm pretty happy. There. So it's going to kind of dry a little bit, and I don't want to touch it at the moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to just move this out of our way and focus on cutting the other things that we have to do. This should dry relatively quickly for you. If you absolutely need to, you can grab a heat tool, but let's see how it does just when we prep the rest of our project, because of course rubbing alcohol always dries very quickly in most cases. So here's our card. We're going to grab a card base, and for this one I'm using shaded spruce. The paper is 4 1/4 by 11, and I'm going to fold this right in the middle at that 5.5 inch mark. And on the screen right now, it definitely looks like garden green to you guys. I have no idea why my lighting is so off. I'm so excited for this room to be done soon. Hopefully get this lighting better. But anyways, green is green. It's pretty either way. I will then need 2 pieces of basic white. So one of them is going on the inside of my card, so I have something to write on. The other one's actually going to go under the vellum so that we get these nice white looking snowflakes. If you wanted a different color of sky, if you were doing the multi-colors, then you'd probably want to put like a navy behind so it looks like the northern lights. If you're doing the sunrise or sunset, you might want to consider playing around with a yellow or an orange or something in the background too. But I wanted the snowflake look, so I've cut 2 pieces of basic white. So the first one that's going on the inside, I'm just going to add tape. And of course you can use seal or glue, whatever you prefer. This is just so that you have something easy to put a message on, be able to kind of send this as a greeting off to somebody. Later on, you can always come back and stamp another reindeer or something in here if you'd like. And then on the front piece, we're going to pop this one up on dimensionals just so that it has a little bit of extra lift. And oh, of course, I'm out of dimensionals. See an empty sheet beside me. There, and some more. Okay, popping this up on dimensionals. You are putting quite a bit on this scene. So maybe put a few extra dimensionals so it's nice and sturdy, kind of hiding in there. So the next piece that we would add to this card front is our vellum, but we want to give that as much time as we can to dry. So this is the time where you guys are going to do a little bit of stamping and die cutting for your extra pieces. So set that base to the side. So you're going to cut yourself a piece of white, which is 2 inches by 4. That's what we're using for this little hill back here. And in the Regal Reindeer set, there is a die that you can easily use if you'd like. If you're confident, and you'll notice we hardly see any of this hill because it's hiding behind the tree and it's hiding behind the reindeer, I often like to just kind of come along and give myself just a very natural looking hill like that. So I cut that by hand. If you're not confident in your ability to do that or you don't want to, then just use the die as well. And then we're going to use our stamps to do a few things. So this guy here, I have stamped with soft suede onto the crumb cake paper. So it's just kind of a darker brown onto a lighter. And I've cut that out using the coordinating die. And for my trees, I have stamped with shaded spruce ink onto shaded spruce paper and used the coordinating dies to cut that out. My little girl, she's actually using real red. So I used real red ink and on top of real red paper. Then for my sentiment, I ended up cutting out, so here's my circle. I cut out the second largest of the circle stitched shapes. Sorry, that's the wrong name. The stylish shapes dies, the stitched circle. And I stamped this wishing you a wonderful season filled with all the good things that warm your heart and lift your spirit. Stamped that with Versamark and heat embossed with my gold embossing powder. So that is how I put together all of my little pieces. Of course, you're welcome to play more if you wanted maybe this reindeer instead. You've got a bunny, you've got different sentiment opportunities too. So, and then inside here, you also have like this solitary tree. You have this reindeer that doesn't have a coordinating stamp, but you can just cut him out. You've got a fox. So there's lots of other fun things that you can add, like jingle bells and a harness to the reindeer. And I'm gonna just leave that up to you guys, okay? So here's your alternative for the other reindeer. And that's what that standalone guy looks like too. So the world's your oyster with those guys. I have them ready to go. So by this point, we're gonna check our vellum. And it looks right, all right? So what I'd like to do is I'm going to build my scene on top of vellum, because just in case I need to put some adhesive somewhere, I wanna hide it under one of the images. So the starting piece is going to be this little hill. I'm popping this up on dimensionals. That will just kind of give us a little bit of lift and hopefully kind of a really natural feel for this. So, sorry, I should be checking. If anyone is watching, feel free to say hi. And if I don't answer your question, I'm not ignoring you. I will get back to you. I'm just very bad at looking at the comments as I'm working. All right, and then I do want to mention on December 1st as well, there's going to be, they said, new clearance rack items added. And so if you need anything or want a reminder for that, just let me know. I'll put notes up on my Facebook page and my Instagram, so always check that out. All right, so here is our base. You can see I got a little smudge, but my reindeer is going to cover that, so that's okay. I'm going to start with my sentiment next, and that is being popped up on dimensionals. Basically everything is getting popped up on dimensionals of some sort. And that's going right up in the top right-hand corner. Now my tree. So this guy, I don't want dimensionals on the part that are going to be resting on the hill, because otherwise I'm going to have like a lopsided tree. So when I turn this tree over, all I'm putting is 3 little dimensionals kind of in the tips of the trees, if you will. I'm not putting any here. In fact, just to get it secured onto my card, I might even just be bold enough to put a piece of tape so that it attaches to the ground. There, okay. And this tree I've kind of just offset from my little label, so I don't want it touching, but I do want it just kind of taking up as much of the skyline as it can comfortably. It'll rest right beside that sentiment. So this right now is kind of like a really nice template. You could add anything you wanted. If you wanted to add the cabin from last year's scene, if you want to add the barn from this year, if you want to add a snowman or a penguin or anything from any of the other sets that we have, this is a really good layout. Because I'm using the reindeer, that's what I'm going to add next. So once again, I don't want adhesive or dimensionals on the part that touches both pieces, but because most of my reindeer is on top of the hill, I'm going to put most of my dimensionals just on his body and legs and not worry about his head there. Actually, you can do his nose because that'll rest on the tree, but you don't necessarily need it. It should work just fine with just these dimensionals here. I need to mention, do you ever like use all the insides of your pieces and then throw this out? It's a really big waste. You can cut the edge pieces up. Use them as well. There we go. Put one on his nose and see what that looks like. There we go. All right, so the reindeer I've kind of put just so that the top of the hill hides behind the top of his back. So as high up as it can go. Do you want to show a little bit of the ground? That's what we're going to do. Oh, I'm showing a little bit. Oops. What happens when I do things without looking straight down on them? Try that again. That's almost better. And these are movable. I don't ever press down really hard when I put something on my page. I save that for after I'm happy with where it's all lined up. All right, there's my reindeer. And then I liked this little girl. I think it's a little girl. It could easily be a little boy too, but she's got some fun little tights on there. So we're gonna pop her up, and she can have 2 dimensionals just right behind her entire body here. Yeah. And she kind of just looks like she's offering the reindeer this little apple. Of course, these stamps you can definitely color. You could grab your blends and color and make them beautiful, but I wanted this to be simple, so that's why I went with the ink color on colored paper instead of kind of on a white piece and then coloring it in. So you can see this background, it kind of just looks really drab at the moment. That's why when you lift it up, actually put it on top of the white, it really comes to life. Like you can definitely see the difference between having it on just a solid color, which would kind of be the same as this green, and transitioning it to a white that really brightens your field of view. So this is why, okay, here we did all of our attaching on the vellum. Vellum is so easy to see through that if I was to put adhesive in these areas here, you'd probably see it from the front of your card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over, and everywhere that has an image in front of it, that's where I can put my adhesive. And we do want flat adhesive. We're not popping this section up on dimensionals or anything. We're just adding little bits and pieces wherever something is hidden. So like the tree is hiding that piece. We've got the potential for the hill. I think I have my reindeer here as well, but I can't quite see that as much, so that's okay. That should be more than enough to keep this attached to my card. All of these adhesives are hidden very easily behind the pieces on the front, so you can't see them. And this one will go straight over top of that white card front. It's the exact same size, so you won't have any border or anything. If you want a border, you could always cut things smaller, but I kind of like that it's just hidden like that. So there you go. Really, it's an easy little trick. And if you got this set up and maybe made like 5 or 10 of these, you could do all of this work first and then set that aside, cut out a bunch of little pieces, and it'd be golden. So there you go. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's one of my favorite of my Christmas cards, I think. And so I hope you give it a try. If you do, make sure to tag me so that I can share